It's the 2015 NBA Finals, and LeBron James and the Cavs are preparing for tip-off. Except this time around, their opponent would be the James Harden Rockets, which is because in this reality, Steph Curry is being erased from NBA history. And even though Klay Thompson would go on to average 26 points a night in 2015 without Curry, the Warriors would still be far from a championship roster. Meaning the Western Conference will now be wide open for other teams to contend for a ring, because with no Steph in the way, there would be 6 finals appearances available for other West teams, as we see which stars take advantage and completely change NBA history forever. But for now, we head back to 2015, where basketball's biggest stars prepare to clash. Because this season, without Steph taking home the MVP, it would instead go to LeBron James, who was putting up numbers just as impressive as we've seen throughout his entire career, already further adding on to his legacy with another trophy. And on the other end of things was James Harden, who was neck to neck with LeBron all season long in the MVP race, putting up his best numbers of his entire career as he was leading the Houston Rockets to the #1 seed in the West. And he was also paired with an all-star level running mate in Dwight Howard, whose strength and offensive game was a major asset against Cleveland's underwhelming front court, which may have been enough to blow this series out of the water. That is, if Cleveland didn't also have Kyrie Irving backing LeBron, as he was cooking Patrick Beverley all night long, eventually leading to this series being in a complete stalemate after 4. But as this shifts back out to Cleveland for a pivotal Game 5, the rest of the series was going to be far from close, because LeBron James was elevating his game even higher, taking over this series with not only a winning Game 5, but going into enemy territory with a chance to bring a ring to Cleveland. Bron put the Cavaliers on his back as he rewrites NBA history.
It's over! It's over! Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Now Cleveland is winning a championship 1 year sooner, and this was only the beginning. NBA history is already looking very different with no Steph Curry, and honestly, LeBron James could actually benefit the most from all of this. But don't count everybody else out just yet, because even though he lost here, this certainly won't be the last time that we see Harden. Although in the meantime, the Beard would have some major hurdles in his way, with the West only getting stronger as LaMarcus Aldridge joins the Spurs in the offseason, creating a big three with Kawhi and Duncan, leading San Antonio to the 2nd seed. Portland was also experiencing a boost in the standings with the rise of CJ McCollum as the most improved player, and even the Warriors themselves were still looking like a threat, with Klay Thompson pushing to a career-high 30 points a night, trailing only James Harden for scoring in the entire NBA. But despite that, the Warriors sunk to a 39-win season, wasting Thompson's impressive numbers. On the other hand, the West's biggest threat had a star whose numbers wouldn't be going to waste. Russell Westbrook was head over heels the best point guard in basketball now without competing against Steph, and his numbers were exploding to back that up, averaging a triple-double for the season, and the Thunder were steamrolling the competition, earning the top record and some extra hardware for Russ. The 2016 MVP was up for grabs with no Curry, and it goes to Russell Westbrook, and rightfully so. Absolutely dominated, and I think OKC has a really good chance. And while soon enough the Western Conference will feature some iconic playoff series that'll have fans on the edge of their seats, this season unfortunately wouldn't have any, because OKC would unsurprisingly be dominating in the playoffs. As their roster boasts 2 of the last 3 MVPs, not many other teams stood a chance, and it was only a matter of time before they were winning the Western Conference Finals to earn a rematch against LeBron. And even though the last time they met, King James was in Miami, it wouldn't change the fact that LeBron was the favorite to win the matchup against KD and the Thunder. Because even though Russ was titled the MVP, it was still widely regarded that LeBron was the best player in the world, reminding everyone with a Game 1 win. But just as quickly in retaliation, Kevin Durant was reminding the world that he was one of the greatest scorers this sport has ever seen. And the long talked about LeBron and Durant rivalry was living up to the hype here in the second meeting, as KD explodes for 40 in Game 2, tying the series all up, before heading on the road to Cleveland, where now Russ was ready to make his mark on the series, abusing Kyrie's inferior athleticism and size, taking advantage of him every trip down. And it wasn't only Game 3, because also in Game 4, Westbrook was taking over, looking like the best player on the court, giving his team a big lead. In real life, OKC blew a 3-1 lead, and the Cavaliers came back from being down 3-1 And now we get to see if NBA history repeats itself. And as Game 5 was set to tip off, with his team demoralized, trailing, LeBron was taking things one game at a time to claw back into this. And as Cleveland takes a timeout late, with everything tied, he was taking the first step.
The front court. Here's LeBron. James, catch, fire, ball game! He did it! LeBron James wins it for Cleveland!
Now sinking that huge buzzer beater, the Cavaliers were only trailing by one game and had hope. Except that OKC was crushing that hope almost immediately in Game 6, with both Durant and Westbrook each outplaying Cleveland Stars, leading to a more than comfortable finish. An absolute ferocious blowout for the Thunder here in the finals. There has to be some sort of a record. Cleveland is falling, and the Thunder are going to become champions.
This year's Bill Russell Finals MVP goes to Russell Westbrook.
And now, Westbrook isn't going ringless in this reality, shaking up NBA history even more after only 2 seasons, with plenty of more change coming quickly, but also with other things still staying the same, such as Kevin Durant deciding to join the Golden State Warriors, but this time with a completely different narrative. Now the move was looked at as Durant wanted to challenge himself to be the #1 guy and win without another MVP caliber player, looking to revive a franchise that's been long since successful. And even though there's no Steph, adding a player of KD's caliber to the solid group they have, this would still end up being one of the better West teams, landing a top record by the end of the season, only being outdone by the San Antonio Spurs, who still had Kawhi and of course LaMarcus Aldridge from the season before, but now also added Pau Gasol shortly after Duncan retired. So with them having a roster of multiple star vets, it was no surprise that they were winning round 1 easily, but what was surprising was the fact that the Nuggets were upsetting the Rockets in round 1 to earn a matchup with the Spurs. And as Nikola Jokic was far from being an MVP and without much other help around him, the San Antonio Spurs were walking all over them, winning the series to advance to the Western Conference Finals. But to decide who their conference finals opponent was, first we have to check in with Durant up against Gordon Hayward. Utah was on a roll this year, landing the 3rd seed with a group of really talented players, but they didn't exactly have a superstar. The closest they had was Gordon Hayward, who has certainly shown flashes of being a very good player, but he realistically wasn't in the same league as some of the other stars in the playoffs, like Kevin Durant, who was easily outperforming Gordon in the series and eventually helping the Warriors make it to the Western Conference Finals, which is the same matchup that we had in real life in this reality. But of course, with just Durant on the Warriors now, Kawhi was actually going to have a chance to come out on top. But as the West 2 heavyweights were clashing, there was no guarantee that Kawhi could actually pull that off. Because as he and Durant go back and forth with one another, it was clear they were nearly evenly matched, and the outcome of the series would come from their supporting groups, of which Durant had the sharpshooting Klay Thompson, who has been one of the league's hottest scorers in this reality as the #1 guy, and on the other end, Kawhi had an elite front court with 2 of basketball's top big men pounding the undersized Warriors down low. So with each side neck to neck with star power and supporting pieces, they would ultimately trade one game after another until this was all tied up for a final duel.
Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. The Golden State Warriors have endured 6 long games. 3 they have won, 3 they have lost. It is now the last stand.
And this one was quickly living up to all the hype of the series, with both teams still clashing all the way down to the final buzzer. And as this is still neck to neck in the final moments, anything was possible. We have a neck-to-neck Game 7 of the NBA Finals. The same 2 teams that played in real life, ironically enough, and they are battling it out here for a chance to play LeBron James in the finals. Tony Parker with Sean Livingston guarding him. That's their starting PG in this reality. Going down low to LaMarcus Aldridge with Draymond Green on him. One of the Warriors' best players, their best defender by far. He's attacking him. The step back. That's a deep shot. He drills it. Aldridge gets it to go in the biggest game of his career. The Warriors on the other end of the court now. Kevin Durant has like 43 points in this Game 7. Klay only has 7. He's kind of selling here. KD, the pull-up gets space. KD's off. JaVale McGee the board and the putback. This game is far from over. It is still up in the air. Anyone could win this here. San Antonio, 90 seconds remaining. Tony Parker, the Pau Gasol screen. He's going down low to Kawhi. Kawhi with around him. Durant's great defense. Kawhi's going nowhere. Goes back into the post. Trying to find an option against Kevin Durant. The post fadeaway. Takes the lead is off. 2-point game. The Warriors on the break. A minute remaining. Klay Thompson Kicks it to Durant. Durant all the way. Durant's leg ties the game. If you're the Spurs, you have to start worrying here. You had a chance to really extend this lead, get some stops, and close this out, but now it's all knotted up. Tony Parker in the pick and roll again. They're going to Kawhi once more. He wants redemption against Kevin Durant. The fade. It's off. KD the board. Kevin Durant pushing the pace. An opportunity to take the lead in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. Kevin Durant, Danny Green sticking him. He wants the ISO. He's calling for the screen from JaVale. KD again to pull up three from deep. Kevin Durant sinks the biggest shot of the series. Just under 35 seconds remaining in this game. There's still time for the Spurs, but they cannot afford to waste any clock here in these final moments. Kawhi with the ball again against KD. He has yet to be able to get it done. Can he get it done now? To pull it for the tie. Got it! Kawhi ties the game right back up. Golden State now out of a timeout. Kevin Durant with the ball again. They are going back and forth, still tied with 20 seconds remaining in this game. About 2 seconds separating the shot clock and the game clock. Kevin Durant is letting this clock wind down. He wants one of the last shots of the game, the dagger, to end the series. Kevin Durant one-on-one as of right now. Will he call for a screen? Draymond with the screen. KD, not a lot of separation. It bounces out. The Spurs timeout. After a roller coaster sequence filled with ups and downs, the Spurs have a chance to win this game, or it may just go to overtime. Powell on the inbound. He has Kawhi open. Gets it down there to Kawhi. Kawhi in the post against Durant for the win. Drills it. He drills it. .2 left. .2 left. Kawhi. Unless the Golden State Warriors are able to get an inbound alley-oop here, this is over. There's not enough time for a shot. They tried though. It's over. It's over. And just like that, the Spurs survived an instant classic series, and they were advancing to the NBA Finals. And luckily for them, but unfortunately for us watching, this one wasn't nearly as intense as the Western Conference Finals, with the Kawhi and LeBron matchup being similar to KD and Leonard matching each other. But this time in the Finals, the Spurs big were clear as day, head over heels better compared to the Cavaliers' weak paint defense and small bigs. And with that, this series was ending pretty quickly, with the San Antonio Spurs adding another championship to their historic franchise, and Kawhi Leonard was adding another Finals MVP to his resume. And as for LeBron, his window for success with no Steph may have just been closed. Because the next year in the West, James Harden and his Rockets were on fire after adding Chris Paul, and no team in their conference could even hold a flame to them. They were minutes away from upsetting the Warriors with Curry this season, so it would come as no shock now that they'd be walking straight into the NBA Finals. We're up against LeBron James without Kyrie Irving. This would be just as much of a massacre as the Warriors versus Cavs 2018 Finals was, with Harden averaging a near triple-double to include well over 30 points a game, sending LeBron packing his bags to the Lakers after what would be the least interesting finals of the Sims so far. And as both Harden and CP3 celebrate actually winning a ring, no longer being ringless in this reality, we will be preparing for an actual worthwhile finals the next season. Because Houston made their way back to the pinnacle again, without any theatrics in the West, and their opponent was now the real-life champion Toronto Raptors, led by Kawhi Leonard. Meaning as this one prepares to tip off, we would have a clash of the last two NBA champions here. And the first strike would go to the Raptors, making their franchise's first ever finals, so it was no surprise that their entire crew came out motivated to get this win on the road, led by Kawhi Leonard leading all scores in Game 1 with 36, and the Raptors would officially steal home court advantage. But in Game 2, to tie things all back up, we'd have an unlikely hero turning back the clock to take over. Carmelo Anthony, who, just like the Raptors franchise, is in his first NBA Finals appearance and desperate to not retire ringless. We would witness vintage Carmelo scoring at will against the great Toronto defense until this was all tied up at 1 apiece. But things were about to get more interesting as Game 3 shifts way up north to Toronto. Now backed by the fans of an entire country cheering them on, the Raptors used that support as momentum to fire back in an up and down series so far, giving them the lead yet again, but Harden was about to put an end to all of that. Over the next 2 games, he was averaging a whopping 40 points a night, completely taking over the court and taking the breath out of Raptors fans. Nothing they did could slow this man down, and his Rockets were winning 2 straight to take the lead. But that didn't mean the Raptors were backing down, because with their championship hopes on the line, Kawhi was stepping up to the plate. We've seen him come up big in the clutch just 2 years ago, and he was hoping to do the same again here to force a Game 7, getting the Raptors the lead late, and they just have to hang on. The Raptors are up by 1 late in the game, trying to hang on here and force a Game 7, while Houston is trying to win an NBA championship in these final moments. Chris Paul with the ball, gives it over to James Harden. Danny Green sticking him. The pump, the drive, nowhere to go. He's pulling it back, restarting the possession. 8 seconds left on the shot clock. He's got to make a move. We're running low on time. He's getting the screen from Ken Farid. James Harden kicks down low to Farid on the roll. What a play! Gives him the lead. Honestly, James Harden was really patient there. I thought he was going to pull up for a terrible 3 like the 2K AI normally does, but he didn't. Kawhi now on the other end. His drive is off. The Rockets with the ball. An opportunity to make it a 2-point game with a 3 here or give him a big lead with a 2. James Harden swings around Capella. Chris Paul with it now. James Harden trying to get open. Nowhere to go. CP3 with Kyle Lowry guarding him. He gets the screen for Capella. CP3 to add to his resume. A leg gives him a 3-point lead. Chris Paul, playing our reality known for not being able to win a ring, is coming up big in the final moments of the NBA Finals here. Kawhi Leonard, Carmelo sticking him now. Kawhi, can he get it done again? To pull up 3. It rattles in. Kawhi does it again. Ties the game. After sinking one of the biggest 3s we've ever seen in a jump in on this channel, the Houston Rockets now have a chance to rally back here for a possible championship if they can score. Otherwise, it goes to overtime. Chris Paul, one-on-one with Kyle Lowry. Paul, nowhere to go. 4 seconds left. What's it going to be? CP3, the step over. Jumper! Chris Paul gives him the lead. No timeouts. CP3, as long as this doesn't go, won them a championship. Chris Paul! History is changing again, with the Raptors failing to bring home a ring in this reality, but on the other hand, Harden, CP3, and even Carmelo are enjoying significantly more success, but we have one more season to cover, which of course would be 2022, where the Warriors' Hollywood story ended in a championship, but now Golden State was horrible, and this year's ring was up for grabs. And with the Mavericks winning their half of the playoffs, they were just waiting to see who they'd play in the conference finals for a chance to play Boston. So to determine that, the Grizzlies were battling it out with the Lakers, 2 of the best teams in the West. And the Lakers were favorites to win this series despite being the lower seed, with LeBron playing out of his mind, although the young Ja Morant was ready to put the league on notice that him and the Grizzlies were here, eventually leading Memphis to the victory after 6, earning a matchup with Dallas in the conference finals, where we would have a one-sided contest. The Grizzlies were using their athleticism and gritty style to run circles around the Mavericks, who weren't ready just yet to take that next leap, sweeping this matchup to make their franchise's first ever finals against the Boston Celtics. And in the biggest spotlight of his career, it was looking like Ja was continuing the dominance from last round here, blowing Boston out in the first game to kick off the series, but that sucker punch may be the last they get, because the Celtics are storming back. Tatum and his group have gotten close to this moment multiple times now, and they weren't going to let it slip away against the young, inexperienced Grizzlies, taking over the rest of the series and not falling to the same fate as they did against the Warriors, taking this one home, winning a championship, kickstarting their legacies together a couple years early, and giving us our last major change of this reality without Steph, as many other teams have found success. But what if instead of disappearing, Steph swapped careers with one of his best opponents? Find out by clicking this video next.